When we left off, we were sailing south from Catalina Island, dodging battleships on an overnight passage. The sun is just about to come up here after our second night at sea, and Ensenada is about 20 miles or so in front of us, closing in on our destination. We had another night of very light winds, lighter winds than we had been expecting. When I was on watch about midnight, I actually had to start the engine because the wind just completely died, and we were rocking around in the swells, which is never fun. Didn't have to motor for too long though. We had some nice wind fill in. I was a bit nervous for a while. It was actually those Santa Anas that they had been warning about on the radio, but it turned out just to be some weather from some rain squalls around Tijuana. Saw some lightning over land and a little bit of rain showers, so sailed on by that and back to the light winds again. We're just drifting along and about 5 knots of breeze right now. All in all, our timing worked out quite well. It's just coming up on dawn. We're about 20 miles out, so that means we should have a nice midday arrival into Ensenada. Sunrise when you're on passage is always one of the best parts of the day. Not only because it is beautiful, but especially when you're sailing close to land, it really kind of lets you get your bearings and see everything around you so well. Don't know if it's just because of the rain we had last night, but right now we have a little bit of an offshore breeze, and there's a really nice smell of like fresh rain on land. Really excited to get in. Looking forward to getting all checked into Mexico. As this is a new boat to us, there's still a lot of things that we are figuring out, the way that they had been set up by the previous owner, and then also how we want to have them set up. Been playing with the autopilot all day, trying to get the settings right on that. We do have a wind vane on Yoringa here. It's a monitor wind vane. The way the setup is, the vane, the thing that goes back and forth in the wind, doesn't really have room to move relative to the position on the bimini on the back. That vane doesn't have its full range of motion, so it can't really steer properly. So that's something we will delve into in the future. Back there you can see that giant Mexican flag. We are coming into the port area here in Ensenada. Got our sails all tidied up and put away, dock lines out, fenders out, flag up, and we are going to head on in.
We're going to pull in. Hillary's going to pull us into the port here. I'm going to dock at the marina, maybe have a taco for dinner. Although I don't know about that, because right now we're probably both pretty tired. It's been 2 nights on this passage, but we arrived exactly when we wanted to, and we beat out those strong winds. And look at this, we've got sunshine, so we've actually got a bit of power going into our batteries for once. Feels good to be back. The harbour here, there's sea lions and dolphins everywhere having some lunch, I think.
After a very chilly night here in Ensenada, we are off to the marina office and then the port captain's office. Gonna go get all checked in and get Yoringa checked in.
Okay, let's get sanitized.
This is again for the address and your registration. The information of your boat.
Yep. We completed our check-in here in Ensenada. Ensenada is a super easy place to check in, although maybe kind of a double-edged sword. The thing about coming here to Ensenada is you cannot anchor in this harbor at all here. So you have to come to a marina to do the check-in, but the marina basically takes care of all the paperwork for you, so it's a super simple process. And this year with COVID, it's actually even a bit different. We didn't even go into the office. The marina staff went in, took care of most of the stuff for us, had us go in to do some payments and sign some things, and we basically just waited outside while they took care of everything. So that was super simple. To check into Mexico, there's 3 main things that you do. First is, of course, your visa, the immigration. That's about $26 a person, US dollars. And then there is your arrival, which is just a one-time thing with the port captain for about $15, your arrival document. And then the third, kind of most important and thing that can trip people up, is what's called a TIP, a temporary import permit. It's easy to do unless your boat has an existing one on it from a previous owner that was not canceled, but they'll get that sorted out for you here in Ensenada. Even if you do, it'll just take a little bit more time, and that tip is about $55 US dollars. Those are the 3 things that we waited while they processed in the office, and now we're here and checked in. Now we came down here to Ensenada on a bit of a schedule for 2 reasons. The first is when we purchased Yoringa, we did an offshore delivery. And the reason for that is we didn't want to pay the California sales tax. We're not residents of California and we're not planning on keeping the boat in California. So the rules with that is you have a certain amount of days that you're allowed in the state and then it has to be out of the state. So we did that. The second reason is we are going to be leaving Yoringa here for a few months actually. We're headed back up to the Pacific Northwest over the holidays. We're gonna do some work for a couple of months and earn some cash to help pay for Yoringa. So now that we're here and checked in, we're just getting Yoringa all buttoned up and ready to be on her own for a couple of months.
I'm gonna prep for shutting the boat down for a little while. So one of those things is taking care of the water maker. We're gonna do what's called pickling it. Which is just running a solution, keeping a solution inside there that'll inhibit the growth, and that should be good for about 6 months or so. Behind these 2 cupboards here, we have our water maker. This is the actual membrane unit, the high pressure, the Clark pump, and then this is the feed pump. There's a charcoal filter, pre-filter, as well as the pump in here, and also has the flow gauges around the corner here. You can probably see this is a Spectral water maker. This was on the boat when we purchased it. It is not a water maker that we would probably purchase due to them being extraordinarily expensive and very proprietary. Makes them almost impossible to work on the cheap. You have to buy all of your products through Spectra to make sure you don't avoid any issues with it and to make it work the way they say it's supposed to work. The water maker we would recommend, it would be to check out the links here. We've done videos on it in the past, and the SunPure Watermakers, which we've had on board Varuna before and we really liked. It's a much cheaper way to go than the Spectra. If you have a lot of money to burn, these are great. They're a low amp draw. They've got their own proprietary pump, a Clark pump, which is a lower pressure, high pressure pump, I guess you could say. So we're gonna disconnect this brine hose here. This is where the discharge water comes after going through the membrane and goes overboard. I'm gonna disconnect that and connect a separate hose on there. That way I can run it into a bucket. And then I'll also change, there's a hose on a port over here, which is the service port, which is basically just a diversion valve from the tanks, so it'll go straight here into the bucket as well. And we're basically going to create a closed loop that I can put in, again, their little proprietary pickling solution here, which is a storage compound which should keep that water maker fresh for about 6 months. So that's about a gallon. Alright, so you can probably hear the pumps are running right now. We've just got a closed loop down here into the bucket where we've got our pickling solution. We'll let that go, that'll just flush through the system, and that way the system's really well stored for, like I said, 6 months. Again, check out our videos on SunPure Watermakers. There's trade-offs on both. The difference, the big difference anyway, if you're trying to cruise on a budget, is this is probably 3 or 4 times more expensive than a SunPure Watermaker, especially when you start buying all your spare parts and everything like that. I would really check out both and see what works for you.
What you doing in there?
Checking our starter battery here. Gonna add a little bit of water to our starter battery here. When we changed the batteries out, we kept our lead acid starter, and it just needs to be checked. The water level we're going to be leaving for a few months here, so we want to make sure the batteries are alright.
As we packed up the boat, it was hard to say goodbye after really getting back into the cruising lifestyle, but we knew Yoringa would be waiting here for us. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, hasta luego!